Fucking hell. Sorry for... Sorry. What's going on, everybody? This is Zach Mullins from The Grip Show, and I'm going to do a tutorial today. So there's going to be a lot of technique stuff brought up here, but you're going to be covering the Thomas inch dumbbell, and it's going to be a hand-to-hand transfer, or tossing it from one hand to the other and catching it. So just going to kind of break down some of the benefits, going to break down how I do it, and just going to give some demos and kind of explain it. So with me up here, I have a Slater inch dumbbell replica from Slater Strength, and it's 172 pounds dead on like the original challenge bell, with a 60 millimeter or 2 3/8 inch handle. So that's the thickness of the handle, similar to almost like a pop can or soda can, wherever you're from. Here I also have a smaller, maybe like a baby inch dumbbell. And I'm going to use this for some demos, and then hopefully we'll pull off a full level transfer for you here on the video. And if it goes well, might get a couple different angles of me doing it, you know, so you can actually see the hands up close and some of that stuff. But got to see how it goes as I warm up. So, but yeah, so really the big thing is with inch dumbbells, it's one thing to be able to deadlift it. That's a big challenge in itself. So not only are we trying to, you know, deadlift the dumbbell, or that's what most people are kind of seeking, the level of mastery to not only have two hands that can lift it, but one hand that can almost high pull, and that's what you're going to want to do with that first hand or your lead hand, is kind of high pull it up so that you can catch the bell while it's up in the air, sort of still traveling up, and then a quick, you know, switch of the hands to catch it and kind of reduce. You're going to have to fight the momentum regardless, but you're trying to reduce and make that a quick transition so that you have the least amount of momentum possible. Because once this thing gets to falling and spinning, I mean, you guys understand how hard it is to lift the Thomas inch dumbbell, most of you. Yeah, if you understand how hard it is just to get it off the floor, you don't want that thing moving and spinning in midair too long and trying to catch it. So I'm just going to break down some of that stuff. So really quick, the first thing is just kind of the stance. I'm going to do a transfer here, but it's going to be with the basically a straddle stance. That's going to be how you're generally going to do these. I am going to be doing it level. It doesn't mean that you couldn't tilt it. It's just that I prefer to lift inch dumbbells a little bit more level. It's a stricter lift. It's harder to do. And in my honest opinion, before I get going, I would just like to say that I think a level inch dumbbell transfer is probably close to equal to, or maybe even equal to an inch dumbbell clean. It doesn't mean if you can do one that you can instantly do the other. So by no means am I saying that, or by no means am I saying one's necessarily harder than the other. But if you go online and you look at the lists of who's done both of those things, they're about equal lengths. So yeah, there's some people that transfer that can't clean the inch, and there's a lot of people that have done inch dumbbell cleans that can't transfer at level either. So generally you're looking at about the same level of rare feet, you know, online. You're going to find those lists are very short, but maybe after this video, some more people will pull it off, and we can extend those lists. So I'm going to be doing this transfer from my left hand to my right hand. That's generally how I prefer to do these. My right hand is a little bit stronger. So first thing you're going to do is have to have a dumbbell that you can work with and pick up with both hands. This is also good training because it goes beyond the deadlift. It's going to tax your hands by overcoming that momentum and that rotation. It's more dynamic. Even the lead hand that's feeding it to the other hand, it's going to be a more dynamic pull because you're not just statically lifting the dumbbell up to the minimum, right? You're really wanting to get that first feed to the other hand up. So you're really trying to pull that thing all the way up so that you have more time to switch hands and kind of catch that momentum at the right time to reduce basically the impact of everything crashing down. So I'm going to start lefty, throw it to the right hand. So the first thing I'm going to do is get centered. I don't want the dumbbell too far out in front of me to where I'm like that, right? So I'm going to basically straddle it. I'll generally start with this a little bit more to one side of my body, and then it's going to obviously come to the other side, but it's almost staying right in this lane. So I'm not trying to like be over here or Nothing crazy. You're pretty much just straddling the dumbbell. So from here, left hand on it. The first hand is going to explode up, basically give me that high pull. The second hand is going to be a quick, like snap. And I'm basically going to be hitting, almost like a palm strike. I'm hitting this dumbbell and grabbing it as quick as I can with as much force as I can, because like I said, the more that momentum gets going, the harder it's going to be. So what that will look like, just like this. There. So I'm really doing this, hitting it hard. What I see a lot of people do is they will pull the dumbbell just up enough, and then they almost try to reach and grab it. You want to like high pull that thing up and hit it hard on the transition. And that's really a tip that I picked up from Adam Glass. He typically will do his transfers more of a tilt fashion and for higher reps back and forth. But the premise of that technique tip is still the same. You want a quick transition. You do not want to try to fight any more of that bell than you have to. You're already increasing the difficulty from a deadlift to a hand-to-hand transfer. You don't need to make the transfer harder. Because at some point, if you're trying to do something, you want to be doing it optimally. So if you're trying to do a transfer with good technique and do the heaviest stuff you can or tax your body the most efficient way, you're not going to want to basically use sloppy technique or leave out certain points that could benefit you. You know, like letting the bell fall. You're just going to have a lower success rate, and it's going to be kind of a waste of energy over time. So from here, one more time, coming up. And this is the mistake I see. Actually, I'm going to break this down. So I'll see people just pull it up enough, and then they try to catch it. Now, I can do that because it's a sub-maximal bell. But generally what that looks like is this. And that's where people are going to fail, because they're trying to barely get the bell up. They don't have a good feed. They're not moving quick enough in between, and they're not really hitting the bell. They're just reaching to the bell. They're not actually hitting the bell and making contact. So hopefully that'll make sense. But this is a really good technique for training, especially if you can't lift a full-size inch dumbbell. You don't have a lot of increments of other dumbbells. It's going to give you the chance to sort of overload your fingers, hands, thumb, wrist, because you're fighting that dynamic momentum of the dumbbell. So you could do that hand to hand. You could do it into cleans if you have lighter dumbbells. There's a million ways that you can utilize a smaller dumbbell and do so much more with it than just reps or holds or whatever. So always look for that little piece to increase the difficulty and climb that ladder. So with that, we will go ahead and we'll try to pull off a level transfer with the inch dumbbell. So let me chalk my hands real quick. And if all goes well, we will have no video edits, and you will see this as one take. If you see edits, it means I didn't get it this time. So we'll see. But yeah. All right. Oh, there goes the mic. Get the mic back on here. All right. Little sloppy on the catch. I wouldn't count that, but it was borderline. So I'll take about 10, 15 seconds and give it another go. But not bad for first attempt on it. So it kind of got a little bit down in my fingers too early. Couldn't stop it. But it is a super tough feat. It's probably not going to be as easy as some of these things look, but just trying to give everybody best information I can on a lift that I'm pretty good at, and just try to bring up some of those key components. The lead with the high pull, that feed hand, quick transfer, hitting the handle hard, not to where you're like hyperextending your thumb or jamming stuff, but the quickest transition you can while the bell's still coming up is always going to give you the best chance at it. So, just a little more chalk. Make sure the handle feels okay. And this is one where normally on thick bar, the handle stuff is not going to matter as much. I am a little bit sweaty too, so I'm just trying to kind of make sure this handle is chalked up to some extent. So let's go for round 2. See what happens here. And there it is, inch dumbbell transfer. So I'm going to bring this up so we can maybe get a better look at what it looks like for the hands. So you're going to be able to see the spin and the force of that dumbbell, and it's so much different than a deadlift would be. So get ready to do another one here. And yeah, I don't want to bore everybody too much, so trying to take too long of a break since I'm doing it in one take. Could always cut this out, but then people think I'm missing lifts and can't do it. Kind of joking there, but yeah, and I got tons of other videos I'll show. Different dumbbells, different feats, different combos where I've incorporated the transfers to add difficulty. But you'll be able to see the techniques I'm describing displayed through a ton of different combo lifts and all that good stuff. So here's probably a better side angle so you can kind of see the catch hand. You're going to see the feed, but it's going to give you a good view to kind of see this other hand hit and kind of see the roll. Also, when I'm doing this, obviously when you take your first grab on a bell, that's going to be the most optimal grip that you can get. With the transfer, you're never going to quite catch this bell as good as you could grab it off the floor. So you're going to have to really overcome that momentum and really have some extra horsepower in the tank to get that bell to stop. But this is going to be a good view for you to see my hand roll and see how big of an opening I have here. Some people can get their fingers all the way around an inch dumbbell. I usually have about an inch gap right here. So I don't have super long, like, 9-inch hands or something crazy, and I'm just like catching it with my giant mitts or something. It does take a lot of like strict level lifting power to pull this off. But like I said, if you can't do the inch dumbbell, work with smaller dumbbells, put fat grips on your gym's dumbbells, whatever it is. But it's a more dynamic way to train thick bar and kind of increase up to pursuing bigger feats. So, okay, enough rambling. Let's give this another shot. So hopefully this will show a good display of the right hand here, catching the bell. And that should be pretty clear, pretty good. But yeah, so there are a few left to right hand level inch dumbbell transfers. And from there, a lot of these things will also apply. There might be different grips, but for a blob transfer, plate pinching transfers, all that stuff is going to have that same kind of high pull, momentum, switch, speed, different grips, different little nuances, but that's going to cover a lot of your hand-to-hand toss and training like that. So it's actually somewhat hot today. But the last thing I will bring up, and I'm going to go back to the small bell for this one, is something to keep in mind for people doing the feat or any type of transfer feat. We have all seen people who cannot lift a certain object and they'll use a finger assist. What I mean by that is they will slow the rotation down by putting their offhand on the dumbbell to not necessarily pick it up with two hands, but just to stop that rotation from breaking out of their hand. And they will touch the dumbbell just to slow that and lift the bell. And it doesn't look like much, but that is the difference between some people not being able to break that off the ground at all to pulling a full lift with it and just touching it with their finger. So sometimes it's tough to measure. Sometimes they're assisting way more than you think. Like, oh, I've just got a pinky on it. Like, yeah, but they're shoving it into the bell and like it's taking off basically, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 pounds of difficulty. So they're not even close to it, even though the bell appears to come up with minimal help. The reason I bring that up for this video is because anytime you're doing a transfer at that highest point, when you're upright or you're coming up to that object, it's very easy for your thighs or your hips to come forward like you normally would on a lockout. And if you're having any type of contact with this bell being longer, if it hits your thigh or while you're grabbing it with the catching hand, if that globe is touching your thigh or pressed against your body, that's the same as having a finger assist. That is going to greatly reduce the momentum. It's basically cheating. It's going to basically negate the feat. It's, in my book, it's not going to count. I wouldn't post it if I did that. So what that looks like is this. Let me just double check the camera view here. So now I'm going to do one where I brace it on my leg. How much we'll see. But the goal is just to avoid this. This is how you would not want to do it. So as I come up, there's going to be contact on this back leg. And that wasn't the best because it's light and it kind of slid off. But if it's heavier, it'll look more like this. People will come up, they'll get to like this point, and when they pass it off, they might have some kind of contact or the back of their hip might be on the back of the globe. But that's going to make it way easier to hold. And if it's plates and they're pinching plates, same thing. As they bring it up, that little bit of pressure, any body contact, is really going to reduce the effort you're going to have to put in, the strength you're going to have to use, and it's going to really reduce the quality of the feat and the impressiveness of it. So try to make sure when you're doing it, your body positioning is in a way that it's not contacting the bell implement. That way you have the purest, best technique, and you leave no doubts when you're doing feats of strength like this. So for this one, that will probably do it. I wanted to cover the inch dumbbell transfer because it is something that I've worked really hard at, and it's something that I don't know. I'm not saying that that's all that can do it, but I've probably only seen, I don't know, probably definitely less than 20 people ever do it. And I just think that with so many inch dumbbells being available these days, if there were all these people with all these inch dumbbells and they know that's a feat, I just think that if more people were capable of it, the people that we at least already know that own the stuff would be doing it. And I think those that have showed it before, clearly they're capable. But I think there's a great deal of people that have these bells that have tried it, and you're never really going to see that feat from them because it is too hard. And hopefully some of these tips will help you improve your dumbbells, just improve some of that dynamic training with the hand-to-hand tosses. Really just wanted to break down kind of a rare feat that is super hard to do, but also just explain how, if you can't do the big thing or you can't do the original feat, there's ways to kind of just hit little steps on the ladder, chip away at it over a big period of time, and you can get there and you can do it. You don't have to have giant hands. You don't have to weigh 350 pounds. You don't have to do PEDs and steroids. If you just actually train, understand what you're doing, maximize your technique, and really just work your ass off, it's possible. So that's what I wanted to show with this video, was basically how, couple small technical things, but really get into, letting people understand that you don't have to have inch dumbbell strength to start training like this to get there. Use your lighter dumbbells, use your fat grips, use whatever you have, and start working a little bit more dynamic grip into the more static, slower, just, we'll say max effort or just maximal lifts where you're just basically doing like an isometric hold and you're having to just, okay, 6-inch lift, got it. Oh, lockout, got it. Get to the point where you're actually, able to clean something, throw something, catch something, be a little bit more athletic, get your timing, get your coordination up, and really kind of put that grip into overdrive as you kind of pursue some of these feats. Same thing for plates. If you're trying to pinch, single hand 45s pinch and toss it and catch it, if you can't do it with 45s, do it with 25s, do it with 35s, do it with magnets and micro load it all the way up. But this whole thing is, it's about inch dumbbell transfers and kind of just giving a close look at it. But it is just something to put into your training that's going to give you a lot more bang for your buck than statically lifting on a loading pin, pinning bars and pinning implements against your body and calling them holds. There's just so many people I see that are wasting their time and not utilizing the tools they have to their maximum potential. And I really try to spend a lot of time in grip, giving free information, free advice. But yeah, this goes for so many other things outside of grip. It's the way you're training. It's training philosophy. It's just general science, right? So incorporating that in all your training, it doesn't mean you have to go crazy and like every day's transfer day and you're just tossing stuff around. But sprinkle it in. It's not going to hurt your grip. It's only going to improve it. It's going to fast track you to other things. It's going to open up your mind to what's possible. And you're going to see definitely you're going to see the benefits of it. And last thing I would say though is considering the fact that it is more dynamic and you're going to need, like I said, more horsepower to kind of pull this stuff off. Just warm up properly. So if you're doing it, start lighter, really get your hands warm, get your tendons going, because there is a point where if you are doing like inch dumbbell transfers or you're doing a transfer like this, that if you grab that dumbbell wrong or you catch it at a weird angle and you try to fight it too much, there's always a risk that you could, injure a finger pulley or sprain your wrist. I'm just saying there's a lot of ways that you could, jump the gun and not be as prepared for the lift. So just ensure that you're warming up properly. You're kind of scaling it to what your ability is and don't do anything reckless to where you are, oh, I'm just going to try to do this cold and snap. You catch something wrong and it pops or something. So the goal is to to be healthy and, get stronger, not injure ourselves at any point in time. So don't jump the gun. Stick within your kind of limitations or, we're trying to break out of them, but we got to be healthy to do that. So don't go get injured, trying new stuff that you're not familiar with. Build up to it like anything else. You wouldn't basically, got to think how to put it. There's a million ways, but you wouldn't just load the bar up with 500 pounds for a squat workout if you haven't even done anything. You know what I mean? You're kind of work your way up through the increments, get through your warm-ups, get through your work sets, and then perform it. So some of these things, although they're not like, 172 pounds, that's not that heavy. It is heavy if you have it falling from the air and it hits the end of your fingers and you try to fight through a shitty position. It's totally possible that that could snap a finger pulley or mess your hand up pretty good. So while it isn't a 800-pound squat just flattening you to the ground or something, or you don't have spotters and you're benching way too much and you just get pinned down, it's not dangerous in that capacity, because the worst thing happens is you drop it. But if you try to fight through bad positions, there is a possibility that you get hurt. So just understand that and make sure you're warmed up. That's kind of enough rambling on this. I don't want to get to talking too much. Want to keep it entertaining, want to keep it informative, but you don't want to keep circling around beating a dead horse. So anybody has any questions about this, let me know. If you know somebody that's pulled off a successful inch dumbbell transfer level, tag them in the comments, or shoot their name in the comments and let me know who you've seen do it. And if you haven't got there yet, hopefully some of these tips help out. Hopefully this helps some of your other grip training and you can kind of get a little bit more momentum going and break through some of those plateaus if you're facing any. So that'll be it for this one. Inch dumbbell transfer, but a lot of these principles are going to apply to other things. So don't get that tunnel vision and think that I'm only speaking about dumbbells. like I mentioned, a lot of these other things, this will work for a lot of other stuff. The grip might be different, the thing might be different, but a lot of the stuff's still going to carry over. So, any other videos you want me to break down technique on, lifts, handles, competition, rules, anything, feel free to drop it below, and I'll do my best to get to it when I have time. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and actually start my training session now that I'm pretty good and warm, and see what I can pull off later today. So thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for all the comments and anytime you contribute. Just, whether it's asking in-depth questions or letting me know, hey, my dumbbell's like this. Any information that pops up in the channel, I respond to everybody, and I love getting comments. I love helping people out. So don't hesitate to, hit me up on Instagram, YouTube, anywhere you can find me, and talk to me, hit me up, and we'll all get stronger. So that'll be it for this one. Thank you.